Hey everyone, Francesca Sampson here. March is Social Work Month. So during the month of March, the National Association of Social Workers, NASW, we celebrate social workers across the nation. So I want to encourage all my social workers, all my fellow peers to go out this month and celebrate yourself, celebrate all of the hard work that you've been doing, because you guys know how we do. You guys know we do a lot of hard work. So I am an educator. As a social worker, I am an educator. Some of the populations that I've worked with youths in foster care. I've worked with the mental health population. I've worked with homeless families. And currently I am an educator. So where it all started, as with many social workers that I've spoken to, I wanted to be a nurse. A lot of us, that I've spoken to, we wanted to be nurses. So from my experience, when I were taking the classes, the classes weren't the issues, is that I did not like the hands-on factor. That wasn't doing it for me. But what I like sitting with people. I like talking with them. I like hearing their stories. I like coming up with solutions, connecting them to resources. So I was, fast forward, I was having a conversation with someone and they said, why not try social work? You sound like, you want to go into that area. I was like, social worker? Don't they take people's children away? At that time, I bought into the public's misconception of what social workers do. So no, we do not take people's children away. But nevertheless, I'm like, okay, I'll try a class. So at Medgar College, where I currently teach, I enrolled in a social work, intro to social work. And during that class, I was prevailed to learn a lot about the field. One of the core assignments there, and we still have it now, is that you have to interview with a social worker. So you interview the social worker, and this actually gives you hands-on experience of what it actually means to be a social worker. You're talking with a live person. You're not just reading in textbook. So I met with a phenomenal woman, and I interviewed her, and she turned the light bulb on for me on so many avenues of social work. She shed light on, because even though I was new to the field, I was still thinking that I'm going to be a child welfare worker. And she's like, why do you want to be a child welfare worker? There's so many other things you can do with social work. I was like, really? And that is one of the things that I teach my students today. The field of social work is so vast. It is so vast. There is countless amount of roles that you can do. I don't know any other profession that can do that. And not saying that there isn't, but I don't know any other profession where you can get one degree, and this one degree will enable you to work in schools, in hospital setting, with mental health population, you name it. You can work in corporate if you don't want to do that direct practice. There's so many avenues that you can go with the social work field. I'm not recruiting, I'm just saying. But nevertheless, what does it mean for me to be a social worker? So for me to be a social worker, it means working with diversity. Working with diversity. We live in a country that's very much diverse, and this profession embrace diversity. It means putting aside your biases, because we all have them. Whether we admit them or not, we all have our own biases. So it means putting aside your personal biases and working on behalf of the client. What is the presenting problem that the client is coming to you with? You're not looking at what color, what race, or all of those other factors that are in front of you, but what is the presenting problem? That is what you're working with. It means working with vulnerable groups. As social workers, we work with the vulnerable population. it's not the only population that we work with, but that is majority of the populations that we work with. It means when you work with this population, you have to empower them. We have to empower individuals. Empowering individuals means giving them the resources that they need, connecting them to the resources. It means, you know, prioritizing things, because sometimes people have ideas of what they want to do, but they do not know the direction, or they do not know where to start. So it means prioritizing things for them. It means identifying their strengths. A lot of times people are not aware of their strengths. So it means identifying their strengths. In social work, we work from a strength-based perspective. So it means identifying their strength. It means looking at the person in the environment concept. What is going on in the home? Because what's going on in the home will affect you. And it also means looking at the system. The family is a system, because what affects one will impact the other. It also means advocating. As social workers, we have to advocate. We have to advocate on a smaller scale, and we have to advocate on a larger scale. And I often say there are not enough macro social workers. There's a vast need for more macro social workers. Why I say that? For most of my career, I've worked with direct practice and the micro practice, the one-on-one, the families, the individuals. And there are a lot of barriers. There are a lot of systematic barriers. There are a lot of structural barriers. And sometimes, even though we want to help, our hands are tied. Our hands are tied because of those barriers. Our hands are tied because of the policies that are in place for these vulnerable populations, and there's not that much we can do. A lot of the policies and stuff that are in place, social workers who are the front runners, who are the front line workers working with these individuals, are not having a say there. So we're the foot soldiers. We need to be there. We need more macro social workers, and I would like to encourage more students to go into macro social work, more universities and colleges to promote macro social work practice, because there's not a lot. There's not a lot of universities that actually promote macro social work practice. They promote the clinical, which we do need. We very much need that. The group and family, some, but not a lot of macro practice. So we need more macro practice in social work. And I also want to encourage NASW, to encourage more macro social work more social workers to go into macro practice. And so for most of my career, like I said, I've worked in direct practice, but you know, heading into postdoctorate soon, I've made the decision to go more into leadership, more into education, more into that macro practice, so that we can affect you know, a lot of these changes, a lot of these systematic changes, a lot of these systematic barriers that are occurring with the people that we serve. And who else to actually go into those realms but people who have actually engaged with the population, people who have actually worked with the population and have hands-on on what's going on. So for Social Work Month, I know I've said a lot. I want to encourage you guys to celebrate yourself. I want to encourage you to support a social worker and know that we are not here to take people's, that is the public misconception, that we take people's children away. That is ACS, y'all. Some of the CPS workers, they are social workers, but our primary role is not to go and take people's children away. Social workers are in your schools. Social workers are in your hospital. Social workers are in your nonprofit organizations. We are in the political realm. We are in every dynamic, every facility you can think of. Social workers are there. Okay, so encourage a social worker and don't buy into the public misconception. Okay, take care, and I will talk to you guys soon.